Alright, so I understand that as you get more and more better with Stormworks, you want to take on way more bigger projects. I mean, like hella big. Thing is, big projects uses a lot of logic. So today, I'm going to help you guys out. Today, we're going to be taking a bit of a dive in making your own microcontroller. More specifically, microcontrollers for combustion engines. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to take a quick look at the microcontroller building thing. If this is your first time using this microcontroller section, then allow me to give you a quick tour. First off, you have this page right here. This page on the bottom will show you the size of the microcontroller, set width and length. You can adjust it as deemed necessary, length and height. The name, I'll tell you now, is important that you change, because when you search for this in your plethora of construction materials, you're gonna want to have it labeled. So we're gonna call this Engine Manager. I already have one, so I'm gonna call it Mach 2. I'll just call it 2. Okay. You can add a description if you want. If you don't, that's okay. And you have these three tabs. You have the Properties tab, where we just looked into, which goes over the name, description, and adjust the length and width. The logic will dictate what input and output nodes you'll have on the outside of the logic. The symbol just puts a nice graphic to organize things. Just a nice graphic to make it more distinguishable. I would like this graphic to be on the surface of a microcontroller. I think that would be kind of cool instead of just a plain white, so that when you're working around with the vehicle, you can see the microcontroller and like, oh, I know what that microcontroller is because of that visual. So, I mean, if the devs see this, just a little quality of life thing. Now, let's be able to see this. Oh, great. Now I have to erase this. There you go. 2 pistons, because Engine Manager 2. So from here, let's go ahead and go to the logic space. Don't worry about that. This huge grid, it's really big. It's going to be the workspace and where you put the logic. We're going to see it get real active real quick. And I'm telling you now, there's quite a lot of things you can add. A lot more unique logics you can add to this microcontroller, to this customized logic that you're going to be doing. What you need to make a good engine controller is, well, to maintain the engine. We want it to ignite. Okay, when we turn that key on, it needs to ignite, it needs to idle, and to make it use for any planes, for cars, for all that, it needs to be able to apply, and it needs to work with modular engines as well as just the pre-built ones. So one, we're gonna need definitely, so let's think about ignition. So yes, ignition is gonna be on and off, and we're gonna put ignition input. This will either it's a key or it's a toggle button, whatever it may be, some sort of input. And you could also add a description to it if you want to. Always name your inputs. This will appear when you're working with the nodes. Okay, you see the ignition input. You're gonna see that when you're working with your creation and you want to put the nodes in. This is what you're gonna see. So always name your inputs. Okay, I'll continue. As another input for information, RPS. And RPS is a number. So there we go. That's our RPS input. Let's go ahead and put a little output here. Well, one, we want, let's say, throttle out. This is going to be an output. Now, make sure to keep an eye on switching inputs and outputs. You will get different nodes if it's an input, like this, and an output. Let's see, what other things do we need? Oh, well, we also need since we're on the topic of throttle input. Because you will be applying throttle to your machine in order to get things going. So we have the throttle input. So RPS, we got throttle out, throttle in. What else? So let's see. Let me think pre-built. I think this up here will be good for any pre-built stuff. Also, yes, the clutch. Definitely. So we need, let's go to number, change it to output, and clutch out. Very good, very good. I got a clutch out. It's good. We'll start with this and think about what we're gonna need. So back out here in the workspace, clutch out, that's output, throttle input goes here, throttle out goes here, RPS input, ignition input, go over here. Here we go. Important to be as organized as you can here. Let's focus on one piece at a time. So I'm going to first think about those pre-built engines. What do I need for those pre-built engines? I need to set just enough throttle to have it idle at a nice slow RPM, if possible. So let me go ahead and dig here and grab an up and down. So that's for basic throttle out. Now, let me see, up and down. Let me think. Since it's a nice on and off sequence, I believe I can just grab you. Oh, wait. Oops, forgot. A knot. Now, why a knot? Because when something's on, you get to do whatever you want. But when you're off, you don't do everything you want. That's going to come in handy. So, with the ignition input, let's go ahead and put it right up here. Now, I want it to idle nice and carefully. So, one, I don't want it to increment by units of one, but maybe 0.005. Reset value, you start at 0. So let me go ahead and apply that too on the knot. See how it all comes together here. That's going to be the reset counter. And let's see, clamp. Clamp is important because clamp ensures that your numbers stay within a certain range. If that is off, then it will exceed certain ranges. And we don't want it to exceed certain ranges. We want it to keep it where we need to keep it. So it increments nice and slowly. The maximum I want you to go, okay, I don't want you to go too high because 1 will be max throttle. So I'm only going to give you, I guess, 0.3. 0.25. That's as far as you're going to go. Hopefully you won't need any more, but if you do, well, we'll make the adjustments. So let's go ahead and review the logic. When you turn on, you're going to add a little bit of throttle at a time. And when you turn off, you go straight to 0. So that it ensures that everything will go off. So I think that will be fine. Okay, so this here looks like it can do just fine. Let's see, throttle out. Well, this throttle out's going to do more than just take into account here. It's going to also take into account what throttle we put in, which is why we have this throttle input here. Let's see if we can focus on just getting an engine going. So we got throttle up, counter, throttle input. Well, we want to add these together, do we not? Yes, we do. So let's go ahead and get add. Simple add function. Now, before I connect it to the throttle out, I'm gonna do something a little extra. Because you see, this, as discussed before, this is not just for pre-built engines, but we're also making this for modular engines. And modular engines have a ratio that needs to be kept. So to keep it from going overboard, I'm going to go ahead and put a clamp at max being 1. So no matter what, okay, no matter what, it will always stay between the ranges 0 and 1. Won't go anywhere else. Okay, next, let me go ahead and save the progress here. Engine Manager 2. Before I continue, let me go ahead and organize. How many nodes do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and square you up. There you go, that should do fine. Let me organize my inputs and outputs. And here we go. Okay, so this is looking okay, but now I just want to scrutinize a couple things. Because I want the ignition to continue to go until it reaches a certain RPS level. So let's go ahead and do a thing here. The logic behind ignition. I want the engine to continue using the ignition until it reaches a certain RPS threshold. Let's keep that in mind. That means we need this RPS in somewhere up here. So how are we going to set this up? So I want you, okay, to threshold. So you'll continue using the ignition until an RPS reaches a certain point. So let's see if we can create a little standard then. We'll use property number. Property number allows you to input any number you want for this, well, set of property. Well, that's not exactly the best answer to that. Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that. So this, you see this max power RPS limiter, and these nodes right here. When you're customizing a microcontroller and you put these little property kind of nodes, you can adjust these inputs right here from here. That's what those little nodes do. So we're going to add this property number into it. So we need to ask ourselves the question. This number will be RPS idle. Again, as long as it idles and idles comfortably, then that's what matters. So we have a desired input, and we have our current input in RPS. So our desired RPS we want. So what better thing to do than put a nice less than? So if the current RPS is less than the one we want, go ahead and start doing some ignition process. Now, again, I want this ignition input to be used, so only when this says yeah, go ahead and start turning on, will it turn on. So I have to make sure and put, so only if, okay, you and you are all okay. So if my button is on and the RPS is lower than I want it to be, go ahead and start igniting. Go ahead and start adding throttle to get this going. Okay, so double checking the logic when we turn you on, okay? And the RPS is less than the property, the RPS we set. You start to add a bit of throttle, okay? Yeah, you start to add a bit of throttle until it idles. So that's good, that's good. So I think this will be okay. Now, to test, let me go ahead and save this and give this a whirl. So right here, this truck that I have present here has a regular pre-built combustion engine. I'm going to go ahead and apply. I'm going to go ahead and put the engine manager 2 over here and test it out. See if it works. So let's put all the pieces in. First, you got ignition. Oh, I don't have an ignition out. See, did it work? Well, yep. But man, is idling a little high. So we're gonna have to make adjustments. Let's have it idle a little less. If possible, can we have it put it down to 5? Okay, it's idling. Nice and slow. Pretty good, pretty good. Let me go ahead and add some throttle. Okay, look at that. All right, so we got something going. So far, for just our regular pre-built engine, I think it will work just fine. So this is good. Pre-built engines have been covered. Now, if you want to stop and leave that there, okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Modular engines. See, modular engines have a ratio of fuel and air. It's not done automatically. So for every single unit of air, it's half the amount for fuel. So with that simple math in mind, we could do a thing by finding a function. A simple function. This function will be whatever throttle input would be, x, divided by 2. Ta-da! We have our fuel ratio. Here we go. Now let's see here. So we got the throttle amount coming in through here. So you're going to be the fuel. My apologies. I'm going ahead of myself. We need nodes to manage our fuel ratio. Our throttle out over here should remain there. It'll be fine. But our fuel ratio is going to be dealing with anything modular that needs that fuel ratio info. So whatever 1 unit of throttle, which we'll have the air intake be the throttle, will be the piece that will remain constant. So there's our fuel ratio mix there. It just hit me. I'm going to need another clamp. This clamp will be specifically for the fuel ratio. Because if the fuel ratio exceeds 0.5, max value 0.5, then the engine will suffer. Because to understand that we can have max throttle, which is 1, but it'll also be adding an additional bit of idle throttle, I guess. So this throttle is used for idling, which can then easily exceed more than 1. Of course, we have a restriction here for the air intake, which is 1, but now we have 1 for the fuel. So this right here, all this here, I believe should handle modular engines. So let's go ahead and test that. So this little Jeep right here is a modular, has a modular engine right in there. So let's go ahead and see if this little engine manager 2 will work. Oh yeah, that's right. I went a little extra complicated in this piece and used this composite, this control panel over here, which has a composite input. So let me go and find where that bit is. Hold on. All right, let's go ahead and put this to work. So, I have it set to RPS idle at 10. Since there's no limiter, I guess, for RPS, this thing might rev a little high. Let's see if it works. That's probably it. Let me go and set it to 10 then. So maybe it can't idle at 5. Alrighty. Put you up to 2. Because it seems to have reached its cap and is not able to ignite. So let's go ahead and fix that. Yeah, that's idling kind of high. Okay, now, it only moved because I do have an electric motor to help. That's just by design of this thing, but... And if I turn it off... Okay. Okay, that's good. This thing idles, and it idles pretty good. Now that we have that, let's go for clutch engagement. So when it comes to clutch engagement, that one's a balancing act, because you don't want to apply the clutch too much too quickly, or else the engine will stall and die. You also don't want to take too long, because then you're hardly going to be accelerating. So in my experience, I have found there to be a nice little in-between zone that's just harmonized. Property number, where is it? And now you're in here somewhere. Property number. So this property number, I want you to, we're gonna name it clutch engagement. And clutch engage at set amount. I'm gonna have it, I think a good default is like 15. So I'll have it there. So now we have to look for logic here. So if the clutch, if the RPS, okay, is greater than where we want the clutch to engage, we're going to apply the clutch. Surely, because I don't want to put too much nodes, because this is looking better than my previous engine manager, and I might actually replace a lot of vehicles with this engine manager because it's pretty good. But for clutch, the method I have for applying clutch is I add in a certain amount of clutch first, like maybe 20%, 40%, and then I add in accordance to the speed of the vehicle. That's my little trick there, which does a pretty good job. So let me go ahead and add another piece here. Input speed of the vehicle. Here we go. So we want you, I'm gonna have you increment by 0.01. And the max you're gonna be we have to put in that clamp. The max I want you to be is half. I know for the fact if I at least put half the clutch in there, then it's going to, actually let me go and put 0.5. Oh, that should be steady enough. If I put in up to at least half, I know I'm gonna get some speed. Let's do a little knot real quick, because if it's not in that range, I want you to reset. So now it's going up gradually. Let's go grab the addition, and I'm gonna grab the function. So we're gonna take the speed, which is over here. All right. So it's gonna be speed. It's gonna be the clutch engaged amount as dictated prior, plus whatever speed. Now, of course, these speeds are in whole numbers. They're not in decimals. So let me go ahead and break down whatever speed I got, okay, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to go ahead and divide that down to x divided by 10. We're going to put the decimal back a bit. So that means if I start adding clutch, as soon as it reaches like 0.5, and if it's moving, let's say 3 meters per second, then it's going to be adding 0.3 to it. So we got 0.5 plus 0.3 will be 0.8, which is good. Hopefully by the time it reaches 1, all right, full clutch engagement, there's going to be enough momentum going that it's not going to kill the engine. So let's go grab you and put you in clutch engagement. Boom. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. Let's go and put these new nodes into place. So let's see how this works. Modular engine. I'm gonna have the clutch engage at a certain RPS. It starts. Yep. Oh my gosh, look at it go. Okay, so one thing I have that's problematic here, it kind of idles high, so it's automatically applying clutch. I only want it to apply clutch when I put on the acceleration. So, let's go ahead and fix that. I think we can actually clean a few things here and simplify this using a clamp. Oh, indeed, this is getting better. I like it. Look how much cleaner it is. So in the threshold, 0.1. So if our acceleration is up to 0.1, wait, in that case, in fact, I think I can make this even more better. Yes, I can. Where's that throttle input? There you go. And there you have it. When the throttle's input up to a certain bit, you start adding it, and then you go. Now, if not, then you release the clutch. Okay. Alright, so that's good. Sure, it idles on the high side, but that's okay. Let me add some throttle. Alright, alright. And I release it. Oh my gosh. Yo, this is better than my old engine manager now. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm just really happy that it works well. And it's so clean. Okay then. So with this right here, with this that you see here, you should be able to run the modular engines, the pre-built engines just fine. With this, you should be able to have all this work to balance all these bits out done. So next time you're creating a vehicle, next time you're creating an automobile or a plane or whatever it is, and you need this kind of, well, engine management, you got it. You saved yourself hours of time, or I guess for this video, yeah, about an hour. Anyways, I really do hope that this little tutorial and guide build helps you in your Stormworks creations. My name is Edward, and this has been Stormworks.